What's up, everybody? Welcome into a new episode of Wiltfong Whiparound. I'm Grace Remington with our Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong. We got a busy month of March, so we are breaking down all these visits and recruiting weekends at the biggest schools. Let's start with one of the hottest names in the 2024 cycle, and that is Jaden Davis out of Charlotte, Providence Day. Now, Steve, you already have a crystal ball to Michigan for the five-star quarterback, and now he's planning a return trip to Ann Arbor. So what can we expect to get out of this next visit?
Yeah, Jaden Davis will be back in Ann Arbor the weekend of March 18th. He's going to spend 2 days there where he's going to get a chance to see the team have a practice on Saturday and then a live scrimmage on Sunday. So he's really going to get a chance to see how this coaching staff coaches during a spring football capacity. And obviously, Michigan, they have a new quarterbacks coach, Kirk Campbell. So he's going to be watching closely how Kirk Campbell works with J.J. McCarthy and the guys there. And J.J. McCarthy and the family have already stamped Kirk Campbell with approval for the Jaden Davis family. So they're excited to get up there, get around Coach Campbell again, get around the team again. This will be his fifth time at Michigan, I think, since last summer. 2 visits in the summer, 2 games during the fall. I still like where the Maize and Blue stand for Jaden Davis going into this visit. You still have Ohio State trying to chip away here. Maybe he'll visit Ohio State in the spring as well, Grace. Tennessee, North Carolina, Clemson, a few of the other programs that have been mentioned regularly from the Jaden Davis camp. But I still love Michigan's position. It's going to be another exciting visit for him to come up and spend at least 48 hours around the Michigan program. And I think they're still trending well in this recruitment.
All right, the top player in the cycle, Dylan Raiola, is coming off a visit to USC. The feelings are pretty good there, but now he's planning the rest of his spring. So where else is he looking?
Yeah, well, I think the momentum is with the Trojans right now in the recruitment of the #1 prospect in the country, Dylan Raiola. He's still communicating regularly with several other programs and is about to take another wave of visits. He's going to go by Georgia, not this weekend, but next weekend for what's going to be a very big recruiting weekend for the Bulldogs. And while he's in the Peach State, they're also going to go by Georgia Tech. Buster Faulkner, offensive coordinator there for the Yellow Jackets. The Raiola family built a great relationship with him when he was at Georgia, long before Dylan Raiola was the #1 recruit in the country and one of the most coveted players in America. Georgia identified him first, offered him first, and got him to campus several times. Buster Faulkner was a big part of that, so they love Coach Faulkner. They're excited to get up to Georgia Tech and see what he has going on there and reconnect with him before returning to Georgia. It's been a while since he's been to Athens in a recruiting capacity. He was there to watch Georgia win their 2nd straight national championship when they dominated TCU. He talks regularly with Mike Bobo and the staff and obviously knows the kind of players Georgia could put around him and the stage he could play on for the Bulldogs. But from there, he's going to go to Nebraska the weekend of March 25th. That is going to be a massive recruiting weekend for the Huskers as they welcome in a lot of top targets that weekend around Dylan Raiola. We know that Dylan Raiola was able to visit Nebraska at the end of February during the dead period because it was a boys' weekend, and they visited his uncle, who's the offensive line coach in Lincoln, and he got to attend a basketball game, obviously was serenaded by the student section. And they, no question, feel the love from the Nebraska community and the excitement around that program with Matt Rule and Scott Satterfield and company. I think Dylan's excited to get up there for a spring practice and see how Coach Satterfield works and start seeing the progress of that football team. From there, they have a visit planned for Oregon. He's going to be at the Ducks spring game. And that's a school that kind of doesn't get mentioned as much as the other 3, Georgia, Nebraska, and USC, when you're talking about the main contenders. But Dylan Raiola talks to Oregon as much as he talks to any program. He talks to a new offensive coordinator, Will Stein, daily. He's been to Eugene a couple times. They have a lot of people in that area that the family knows very well. And there's a lot of excitement to get up there for Oregon's spring game. In addition to these visits, Grace, I think Dylan Raiola could take some official visits. And I also think that he could camp at these programs to get a chance to work with these quarterback coaches / offensive coordinators to see what kind of feel and rapport he has with those guys on the field. So even though USC is the crystal ball favorite right now for Dylan Raiola, there could still be some shifts as he continues to go on visits and then maybe camp with these schools, among other things.
You recently logged a crystal ball for another quarterback, and that is top 247 QB Daniel Kalen out of Bellevue, Nebraska. Where do you think he's headed?
Yeah, he's visiting Missouri this weekend. Mizzou's going to have a lot of top targets on campus, and talking to some sources with knowledge of the recruitment. I like the way it's kind of trended for Mizzou going into the weekend. 6'2", 198 pounds, threw for over 3,000 yards and 36 touchdowns as a junior. And Grace, he also has a perfect IQ score. So this is a young man that checks those boxes off the field as well. He was just at North Carolina. I know he's excited about the Tar Heels. Minnesota was a program that was strongly in the mix, but they recently landed a quarterback commit. Colorado's another school that he's high on, and Vanderbilt is definitely a major contender in this. But Missouri, he's the top target on the board for Coach Drinkwitz and company at the position. And I think they got a pretty big visit plan for him this weekend, and I like the way that it's trending for Mizzou.
All right, another quarterback we want to hit on, Jake Merklinger. And according to our Don Callahan of Inside Carolina, Merklinger's 5 finalists are Georgia, Michigan State, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia Tech. The top 10 quarterback coming off a successful visit to UNC. So what are you hearing about his recruitment?
Yeah, and that's his second straight visit to a college campus, because he was also at North Carolina in January and got a chance to go to Mac Brown's house on that visit. And they've just continued to build the rapport. Chip Lindsey, they've really hit it off with the new offensive coordinator there. Love Coach Brown, love the program, love the vibes, atmosphere, and culture around there. Certainly love what they've seen from Drake May. And I think North Carolina is in really good position for Jake Merklinger going into these next wave of visits, which includes Michigan State. Tennessee is another program that I think is in a really good spot for Jake Merklinger. Georgia, they offered recently. They have Ryan Puglisi committed. They're obviously recruiting Dylan Raiola, but Jake Merklinger is on the board. He's going to spend a couple days in Athens as well. And then Virginia Tech is a program that I think that he has really vibed with Brent Pry and that coaching staff up there, and really likes the Hokies a lot. But I just get the sense coming out of this visit to North Carolina that the Tar Heels have a lot of momentum for Jake Merklinger, and we'll see what happens with these next few visits.
I thought it was hilarious, Steve. I was reading the article about him. He said, well, obviously the atmosphere at that basketball game was incredible, but he was like, the thing I couldn't get over was every seat had a seat back. It's the little things in life, you know?
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right.
He's there in Savannah. I think they got those old school wooden benches.
Right.
You got to make sure your kid doesn't fall through the cracks.
Yeah, that too. But the comfort when you're sitting there for a couple hours, it does make a difference.
Yeah, well, if you're QB1 in North Carolina, they'll make sure you're real comfortable there too, Jake.
Mm-hmm. Very true. A couple of Georgia products planning to visit Clemson soon. Top 10 quarterback Aaron Noland and top 5 defensive lineman Edric Houston. Obviously, lots of competition for these two. So how important is this weekend for them and the Tigers?
Yeah, and Clemson hasn't offered Aaron Noland yet, but I would be surprised if he made it through this weekend without a scholarship offer from Clemson. And this is a visit that he's super excited about. You know, he's talked to me in the past about Coach Sweeney and the winning mentality on and off the field. And from the outside looking in, you kind of get that vibe from everyone at Clemson. He loves that winning spirit they have around there. He said Clemson is ranked very high in the country, not only on the field, but off the field. That's definitely another reason why he's hyped up about Clemson. So he's excited to get there, see the program, see where things continue to develop with him and the Tigers, because look, Miami's all in on him. Texas A&M's all in on him. Arkansas has been recruiting him at a high level. He's going to visit Ohio State at the end of the month, and that's kind of a similar deal to Clemson. They haven't offered yet, but I'd be shocked if they didn't. Oregon's another program kicking tires on Aaron Noland right now. He's kind of become one of the hottest names at the position in the country, and Clemson's got a chance to really make a statement this weekend with a really good visit weekend. Edric Houston is coming off a really good visit to Oklahoma. He had a lot of fun with Coach Venables and Todd Bates and company, and sounds like Oklahoma moved the needle for him. But Clemson's a program that I've had near the top of his list for a while right now. He's really hit it off with Lemansky Hall, and every time he goes there, it's a good experience. He loves the interaction that he's had with Dabo Sweeney. He says that Coach Sweeney's never too high to talk to the recruits. And then he just really loves the community and support from the fans around the program. And when he's there, he can just feel how close the coaching staff is. And it's an energy that he really likes. So he's got some big visits coming up as well as Clemson battles the nation's best for him. But they're certainly in the thick of it for Mr. Houston.
All right, another ACC school on the rise. Florida State getting ready for its marquee recruiting weekend of the spring. It's Legacy Weekend, and our Knowles 247 site reporting that several FSU greats could potentially be on campus to meet this next generation of talent. So the Knowles class ranks 4th in 2024 with 9 commits. Steve, who do you think they could add after this weekend?
Well, how about if you're Charles Lester, Grace, and he's going to be there on Friday at 24/7 Sports Composite, 5-star cornerback. And he's going to get to rub elbows with Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James, who are arguably the best cornerback and best safety in the world. And they've come out of Tallahassee, and they're excited to be back. Heisman Trophy winner Jameis Winston, Jermaine Johnson II, Keir Thomas, Jayshon Corbin, some of the guys expected. And this is a recruiting weekend that kind of reminds me of like Oklahoma's Champ U barbecue that they have in the summer, where they bring back all these Oklahoma players that are in the NFL. And it just creates a tremendous energy and atmosphere where these alumni love to be around each other, and it resonates with the recruits, and certainly they're all hands-on with the prospects and stuff. And so I'm expecting some real excitement coming out of Florida State this weekend, where the past greats rub elbows with the potential future greats. And as you said, they have the number 4 class in the country. Cameron Davis and Luke Cromenhoek expected back. Top 247 safety Jordan Pride could as well. He's been talking to a lot of other schools, so it'll be interesting to see how this weekend goes. Offensive line is a major point of emphasis for Coach Norvell and company as they continue to build this up. Alex Atkins, one of the best offensive line recruiters in the country. 4-star Jonathan Daniels, top 247 center Jason Zandamela are visiting this weekend. It's a return trip for them. Daniels had a great visit in January. I have my crystal ball on FSU for both of those young men. They've been trying to flip the number 1 tight end in the country, Landon Thomas, for quite some time now. He's committed to Georgia. That's going to be tough sledding, getting him away from the Bulldogs. Sometimes it seems like they have more momentum than others. We'll see if he gets on campus this weekend or not. But some other guys that I expect, Grace, you have in-state receiver Kevin Levy, 4-star safety Xavier Mincy, athlete Jalewis Solomon from Georgia, 4-star defensive lineman LJ McCray, top 247 edge rusher Elias Rudolph, and top 247 receiver James Madison II from Powerhouse St. Thomas Aquinas. I think I think Florida State is the one to beat for him coming into this weekend as well. You got some big-time 25s, number 1 linebacker in America, Zayden Walker, number 2 safety in the country, DJ Pickett, number 3 cornerback, Michael Butter Tollefson. Grace, which nickname do you like better, Michael Butter Tollefson or Prentice Air Nolan?
Okay, wait, say the Butter one again.
His name is Michael Butter Tollefson, and then you have Prentice Air Nolan.
I mean, you really can't beat Air Nolan, and then Prentice too. It's so regal.
Yeah, no question. But Butter is, I kind of like Michael Butter Tollefson too.
Maybe he's got smooth hands. Maybe that's what that means. I don't know. Butterfingers is not a good thing, so maybe I won't wish that on him.
It's not Michael Butterfingers Tollefson. Michael Butter.
All right. Well, staying in the Sunshine State, top 5 defensive lineman Kamarion Franklin will be visiting a couple Florida schools in addition to many others. So what can you tell us about this Blue Chipper's upcoming recruiting schedule?
Well, my man Kamarion is going to visit some schools in the Sunshine State, but he is from the SIP, Mississippi, Lake Coramont High School there, top 247 recruit. He's got a big visit coming up for 2 days to Auburn. And I think we're going to be talking a lot about Auburn on Whip Around beginning in the next few episodes as they start bringing Blue Chippers on the plains. And they're making a lot of headway with a lot of top recruits. I like what they have in the fold already. And they're trying to make a major move with Kamarion Franklin. He's going to go to Auburn. Then he's going to head to South Carolina this next weekend as the Gamecocks bring in a lot of top targets. And he's excited to get to Columbia, but Miami and Florida have visits, March 25th and 26th and April 1st and 2nd, respectively. He's going to get up to Ohio State in mid-April. He's also taken recent visits to Ole Miss, the Hurricanes, Arkansas, and Tennessee. So a lot of contenders for the number 5 defensive lineman in the country who racked up 19 sacks as a junior.
Ryan Wingo is the name we've talked a lot about across all of our content here, but Missouri making a push for the talented in-state wide receiver. He's planning several visits this spring. So what are you hearing about him?
Yeah, he's about as well-traveled a recruit as there is in the country. but he has not been to Georgia yet, and he's going to be at Georgia next weekend for what is going to be a massive recruiting weekend for the Bulldogs, and I know he's excited for that. He's back at Mizzou this weekend. We talked about Daniel Kalen, quarterback from Nebraska. He's trending on the crystal ball for Mizzou. Mizzou's going to have a lot of top targets on campus. Ryan Wingo's been there several times in the past, including for a basketball game. They're in the middle of that one. He's coming off a visit to Alabama that I know for a fact he loved and enjoyed, and I think the Crimson Tide have made a major move in that recruitment. Certainly you have Tennessee in there. He's going to check out Nebraska for Nebraska's big recruiting weekend, the weekend of March 25th. So those are some of the things he has planned right now. I think that Alabama visit this past weekend was a big needle mover, and he's back at Mizzou, and then I know they're excited to see what Georgia and Nebraska bring to the table.
All right, let's wrap the show up with some mailbag questions. That's right, the mailbag is back. It's been a while. Thank you, everybody, for sending them in. And we're going to start with one from 12th Reason, who asks, who is the favorite to land 5-star cornerback Kobe Black?
I don't have that one nailed down just yet. I think that there are quite a few programs that are in the mix, as we said on the past couple whip-arounds. He was just at Oklahoma this past weekend. Brent Venables and company aiming to turn around a defense that ranked 129th nationally. Kobe Black's a major target for the Sooners. We know he's been to Texas a bunch, but he's got the list of who's programs right now pursuing him. And so it'll be interesting to see how that recruitment continues to take shape moving forward.
Our next question from T. Chambers. Will the recent Michigan State coaching departures impact their pursuit of blue chippers like David Stone?
It could. I mean, I know Coach Jordan had a great relationship with those guys, and just his pedigree of working with some of the best pass rushers in the NFL certainly resonated with recruits. But we know how hard Mel Tucker goes on the trail, and recruiting has become a major point of emphasis for that program. And so I think, the Spartans are still in the mix for some big time guys, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the spring. But I think Mel Tucker's involved with all of Michigan State's top targets too, so that certainly helps. Bridge the gap between the old staff and the new guard that they'll have to bring in.
And our final question from Jason Dayton. Whether it's Texas A&M, Texas Tech, or any other school, what's the likelihood that Micah Hudson stays in the Lone Star State to play his college ball?
Well, I think when you look at the schools that he's extremely high on, a lot of them are in state. Texas, and don't sleep on Texas Tech in that recruitment, are certainly programs that he's very excited about right now. So I could certainly see him staying in state, but there's another program, Grace, that's done a hell of a job developing receivers and Biletnikoff winners and finalists and first-round draft picks, and that's the Ohio State Buckeyes. And they are in the middle of that recruitment as well. And we've seen them go down to the Lone Star State several times over the past decade and take an elite player out of there. And that's one that they could win this recruiting battle as well.
Yeah, I feel like Texas Tech, super underrated, 6th in the country. I don't think I would have known that if I didn't look that up right now. So
they beat the Longhorns last year.
Right. Lots of programs on the rise. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. If we didn't get to your question today, go ahead and send them in to us throughout the week, and we will get to them next Friday. Remember to please like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are back to our regularly scheduled programming as recruiting ramps up this spring. So we'll be back here on Monday. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you then.